I wasn't originally on the schedule for this conference, but when I found out that our guys are exhibiting some of the work that we've done here, I thought, you know, it seems like a useful thing to talk about some of it in context, because it's easy to look at technology and see technology, but what I want to try to do with this talk is to try and put some of that in context. And I chose a rather bizarre title because when I put this together, I was actually sitting in my car listening to my son, who was rapping on UCT radio, and I thought, you know, this is something that we've got to actually work into some of the things that we do, because it's not just about the music and all of that. It's a whole cultural thing to do with the way young people interact with one another. And I thought it's in many respects, it's also potentially a metaphor for education. So I came up with this rather weird title of Educational Techniques for Young People by an Old Dude, and I guess I'm the old dude, in case you haven't gathered that. And so what I'm going to try and talk about is rap and remix, but I'm not really going to be talking about rap and remix. I'm talking about socially networked learning opportunities. And I don't know if you are aware of this project called Social Content and Networking for Schools, which is at scns.uwc.ac.za. This is a site that we've set up for schools that are on the Cape Flats but are not connected to the internet with sufficient bandwidth for them to be able to do anything. And it's part of the Tux Labs project, and we've got some funding from the Shuttleworth Foundation to do this. And because UWC has got the highest buildings on the Cape Flats, we're able to put a radio network that covers, I don't know exactly how many schools, but I think it's over 100 schools that have the possibility to be part of this project. At least it's the number, whatever the number is in Tux Labs. In Tux Labs, there is an exhibition out in the big hall here. So if you want to find out more about it, you can go there. Now, the technology that we have on this site, if you go to the site, you could easily see it as just a static website, just another static website. But what I want to try and do is to get people thinking about how this technology can actually be used to do some really interesting things in schools that we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have this network in place. And that we will be able to do more widespreadly, hopefully, in the near future as bandwidth becomes less expensive and more widely available. So, let's go back to the ancient world when people used computers to do things like sending email. I don't know if you remember those days. I do. Or to surf the web in browsers that all they did was open HTML web pages. Remember those days. This was a website that I made in 1996, which I found on the Wayback Machine, by the way. If you wanted to go and see ancient history, you can go and look on the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, which is really cool.
What's the website?
If you Google for Internet Archive, you can pick a website and then go back to a particular point in time. I think they go back about 10 years or so, 10 or 11 years, yeah. And then something changed. And so here's a young man who's saying, hey, I only use email to talk to old people. And here's a younger guy saying, what's email? And these could be my kids. I've got 3 boys and a girl. So the boys are 19, 17, 15, and the girl is 11. And the older one probably has used email. They're all online all of the time, either on mobile devices or on a computer. But they never use email. Even the older one, if I send them an email when I'm traveling, I never get a reply. It's just outside of his culture completely. And so a whole lot of interesting new things came along, like blogs and podcasts and various other technologies, which are all still mostly old people technologies, because very few kids under the age of 20 pay any attention to this stuff at all. So it's kind of come and gone almost, but there you have it. But there's a whole lot of things that have happened on the internet and on the web that come under the heading of what we can call Web 2.0. And I'm sure you know some of these things. Web 2.0, often dubbed the read-write web, because people don't just read websites, they interact with content, they interact with people. And so the web, instead of being a one-way, old-style publishing system, is a much more communication system involving two-way communication or multi-way communication among people. And so there's things like microblogging, there's peer production of content, there's old-fashioned technologies like instant messaging, which are still part of the Web 2.0, even though there's the concept of the social networks, highly specialized applications that do one thing and do it really well and don't do anything else. Technology like microblogging, blogging and microblogging, social bookmarking, things like Delicious and so on that enable you to share your bookmarks with other people. Mashups, which is kind of mixing up of content from different areas, as well as functionality from different sites. And then there's, as I say, podcasting, video sharing, sites like YouTube and so on. And all of these things have created a very different web experience from the old one from the days of HTML pages and email. And of course, mobile technologies have come into the fore. And I didn't stage this picture. This is my son sitting in the house, sitting in a chair in the living room. And I just grabbed the camera and took a picture over his shoulder. This is normal, I think, relatively normal behavior for teenagers these days. And then there's the concept of social media, all these things like YouTube, where you can share videos and you can find videos on almost anything. I mean, if you're teaching the subject these days and you can't find the video on YouTube, it's highly strange. There's videos there on almost every topic you can imagine. There's the social networking sites like Facebook, the technologies like WordPress, microblogging services like Twitter, and we'll look at some of those just now. Flickr for sharing photographs, Technorati for bookmarks and that kind of stuff. So Flickr is one example of that. How many people know Flickr? How many people have got pictures on Flickr?
6,000.
How many people have used pictures from Flickr in teaching something? Cool, good. What you'll find in this talk is almost all of the pictures that I've used, except for the ones which I've obviously taken myself, are off of Flickr. What about Facebook? How many people got Facebook profiles? Ooh, this is good. This is really good. I gave a talk at Wits University last month, and I asked the same question, and there were only 2 hands out of about 40 in the room that went up. There's a lot of time wasted on Facebook, to be sure, just like there's a lot of time wasted on everything. But Facebook has got a lot of potential, I think, in terms of creating educational opportunities. And one of the things some of our developers are looking at right now is building a plug-in to Facebook, enabling the e-learning kinds of activities that take place on all of these sites that are using the technology Chisimba, which has got the poster behind me here, which I'm not going to talk about today, although I will be using it just now. But to enable all of those things to actually be shared or to find a place on Facebook so that people can actually interact with them there, instead of having to see it as another place they have to go, which is another one of the characteristics of the Web 2.0, which is the distributed applications. You don't need to know where you are, and you don't need to care where you are, and you don't need to know whether the site is in South Africa or the US or Japan or whatever, or whether it's files on your hard drive or files on a shared service.